Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome into tonight's broadcast live from Sarasota High School. I'm Josh Grant, your play-by-play announcer, back here with the best color man in the business, John Massoni, and it's so great to be back here. I could not wait to get here to Sarasota High School tonight.
It's been a little while since we've seen a football game, and I know that while we're chomping at the bit, I know the players and the coaches are chomping way more at the bit than we are. But it's nice to be out here, and the weather looks like it's going to cooperate tonight, so hopefully we'll have a great matchup of longtime rivals.
And you, the public, have been waiting for this. We've been seeing messages on the Facebook page. Lots of stuff to talk about. Aside from football, after the last 13 days, the Indians are back in action. The players and staff did a lot of great things over the last 2 weeks. We're really generous. Community support was incredible. Shout out to Rick Michaels, owner of Chick-fil-A Pelican Plaza, who the players and coaching staff were able to get out in the community and donate a lot of food to those in need. The cleanup last week at Powell Davis Stadium, I was unable to be there, but there were a lot of people there helping clean up that stadium.
Yeah, I mean, the community as a whole chipped in as much as possible they could. And, of course, our players and coaches have always been out there in the community doing things where they can and where things are safe and they can get out there and do things. So it's been a long 13 days, but in some ways it's been a quick 13 days. Like you said, 13 days. You're like, wow, it was 13 days ago or so since everything sort of happened with Hurricane Ian. I keep on saying Ian, but it's Ian to come along, and it's a slow recovery, and fortunately we were able to get back recovered with the high school football and getting back on track towards all their goals for the year.
And aside from the damage of the football stadium, the weight room also suffered a lot of damage.
Yeah.
Roof came off, but I looked today. We had a professional day today as teachers, and they've cleaned all that up. So hopefully the Indians can get fully back in the weight room here in the next week or two.
And, this time of the year, they're not as weight training heavy as they would be during the summertime and whatnot. So I'm not sure it'll affect them too much, but you want to get that building. It's such a beautiful building. You want to get that back in shape. It's sort of, I mean, if I'm giving anybody a tour of Venice High School football, I almost have to start there. It's just
absolutely.
It's the jaw dropper for most guys who know what that's all about.
And a big thanks to Vibrant Aspect Media. The press box, there was some damage at Powell Davis Stadium. We won't be able to be there for a couple of weeks, but to be able to bring this show back to you, the fans, just a phenomenal effort by Francis, Josh, and the rest of the team at Vibrant Aspect Media.
And it's great that we were fortunate enough that Sarasota High School was going to let us do this game tonight, so we got back into it a little bit. So thanks to them for letting us do our thing here tonight. And again, it's like with Vibrant Aspect going up there and salvaging everything up there and getting everything ready to go for us to be able to be on the air tonight was yeoman's work. It was really great that they got to do all that stuff.
It's your Venice Indians and the Sarasota Sailors. So it's back to business as usual per Coach Peacock, and I had a chance to pull some clips from the podcast filmed on Tuesday nights at Bogies. Go ahead and play clip one.
Like, we had a really, really good practice for a Tuesday, and obviously for being off as long as we have been. I thought our kids responded very well. Oh, absolutely. One thing is this is the first game, for the 2022 Indians that they'll be playing a local team. So ever since the spring, we haven't played any local teams. So obviously the kids are excited for that. They always get excited to play local games. So. I expect them to be, locked in and focused. We've had yesterday was not a great practice, being 13 days off. It was a little bit hot out there.
Sure.
So it got kind of rough at some situations. But today, I felt like we had a really, really good practice for a Tuesday, and obviously for being off as long as we have been. I thought our kids responded very well and had a great practice. And
so again, back to business as usual. Watching the players get ready for the week. Despite the 13 days off, this is a big game for your Indians.
So we always talk about, you have this national schedule that we did with the first 4 games, where you put that schedule against any schedule in the country, and now you're back to where the games are. These are the most important games. The Sarasota Riverview back-to-back, both of them are going to be on the road, for the next 2 weeks at this stadium, as a matter of fact. So we'll be back here again next week. But they're huge. You win those 2 games, and you're in the playoffs, and all your goals are still right ahead of you. You've taken care of the district at that point, and then hopefully you've accumulated enough points in the system to go ahead and get yourself potentially home games because we want to. Hopefully the stadium is back to operational down at Venice High School, and then we can have all the home games we need and want for moving forward in the playoffs. But it starts tonight. That's where the goals all start.
So it seems like forever ago, but it was 3 Fridays ago where we posted that L on Max Preps as your Indians defeated Seminole 24-17. The number 12 team in the state, the Indians quickly fell into a 14-0 first quarter hole, but quarterback Brooks Bentley sparked a rally with his arm and legs, running in the game-winning touchdown from 31 yards out in a 24-17 win. The dual-threat quarterback finished with a team-high 11 rushes for 85 yards and the score, along with 8 of 17 passing for 121 yards and 2 passing touchdowns. Before we continue, let's hear what Coach Peacock had to say about Brooks on Tuesday night.
Yeah. No, like I say, but in situations, he's shown
Oh, yeah,
a propensity
there's no
to
doubt.
get it
We
done.
know, like I said, we know what we have with him. He's an absolute winner, stud, and we didn't know what we were getting and didn't know what kind of player he was. But, I mean, he's like I said in the coaches show, I mean, he's the type of guy that when it gets hairy, he's going to throw everybody on his back and say, let's saddle up, boys. And that's, if you're going to have somebody on your team do that, if it's your quarterback, it's even better.
And at this point, as a starting quarterback of a 2-2 team on the rise, Brooks has really shown a great leadership ability over the last couple of games.
Yeah, I mean, he's like any situation you're coming in as a starter. You got to grow a little bit into the position. You get kind of thrown to the fire early on. You got IMG, you got Miami Northwestern. You got to really kind of work your way through your problems with against some tough opponents. But Brooks is a very level-headed kid. Coach and I were talking, just kind of riffing back and forth one night, and it's like, yeah, he's a little combination of both of the two quarterbacks we had the last couple of years. He's a little bit Colin Blazek, he's a little bit Ryan Brown. He has, Colin was not a runner, but he was a very heady guy. He had a very catchable ball when he threw it, and Ryan, was more of the athletic part of it. And I think Brooks has a little bit of that. You see, like the touchdown run he had for the long run, he looked really good and athletic. He pulled the ball a few times in the game against Seminole too, where he kept the ball. His running was pivotal to us sort of getting our everything kind of moving, and then everything else sort of open up off of that. So where he needs to, when he needs to, is going to be dependent on the game and the situation as far as his running ability. But overall, I think what he has really grown into is what role from a leadership perspective he's going to play for this team. And of course, the position itself lends itself to being have a leadership role, but he's really seen to step into it now, and I think the kids are all sort of migrating to that as well.
Well, and he hasn't had much of an opportunity to make an impact with his arm because the receivers, let's face it, have had a lot of trouble getting open against some of these staunch defenses. So Brooks leads the team in rushing, 2 touchdown scores. When we look at, you want to make comparisons, obviously. You look at Ryan Brown, you look at Brooks. Statistically, the one place where Brooks has the edge, 6 touchdowns, no interceptions, 2 touchdowns on the ground, 161 yards. Where at this point of the year, I know you just mentioned it, but where at this point of the year do you see the two? Do they compare, and how are they kind of different?
Well, I think Brooks has probably found his role a bit quicker than Ryan did.
Right.
But Ryan was sort of like on that, he sort of went, and then when he hit it, his stride, it was like a rocket ship.
There were times, when we talked about that first series, the Lakewood Ranch game, even in that blowout, there were times where we weren't sure where Ryan was thinking, like what Ryan was thinking at that point, his first year as a starter, as a quarterback. And Brooks has really kind of done the opposite, to where we've seen Brooks' sound decision-making. He just hasn't had as much of an impact chance to make an impact.
Ryan built a lot on his athletic ability. And I think so that took a little while to kind of figure out how he was going to fit into that. And then all of a sudden, when it did groove in, everything grooved in. He was able to feel more confidence, and that grew his confidence, and he was able to do more. I think Brooks came in with a certain amount of, I guess you would call it not experience, but maybe a little bit more moxie at the position in some ways. And that seems to have stated him out from the beginning.
Right.
Now he's starting to find out where the nuances, and he's tweaking his game to fit what the game needs and what the Indians need for that game in particular. And that's cool to see him kind of figure that, almost like a coach game planning or having to go and make a change during a game. He's sort of doing that on the fly as well in each game and learning where he needs to put acts. Hey, I got to make sure I do a little bit more at the passing game, or maybe do a little here, a little there. Hey, the line's having a little trouble with the guy on the right-hand side. You can see him kind of figuring it all out, and then as the game moves on, he's just getting more and more confidence, and he's getting, as the season moves on, same way, he's getting more and more confidence.
And I'd be remiss if I didn't congratulate Ryan Brown for committing to Purdue University this week. He, I questioned the decision to go to a prep school. I thought he was ready to go. He got a couple of offers, but he bet on himself, and sometimes you have to bet on yourself in order to get to where you want to go. So congratulations to Ryan for becoming a new Boilermaker.
Yeah, and you know, Coach and I were kind of going over a little bit about some of the players, where they're at right now, what they're doing, and you know, we've got our last 3 quarterbacks are playing at the next level, which is Ball State for Colin Blazek, and then of course Hayden Wolf over at Old Dominion. He's had quite a season so far.
And Bryce
at
Coastal Carolina.
And Bryce is still doing his thing. Yeah. So and you know, it's fun to watch Bryce. He's sort of been, you know, he's done a lot of different things at Coastal Carolina, but what I think he's done overall, which is here at Venice High School, he's been a great teammate, and he's been a great contributor no matter where you need him on the field. That's it's an asset. I think any coach would love to have that guy right next to him, or on the field or on the sidelines anytime.
And Chuck Brantley with a huge pick last weekend
against Ohio State. It didn't help the team as much as you'd like to do, but that would, you know, so it's funny again, you're watching these kids, and they're you know, it's nice to see them sort of being the same players they were at the high school. They were playing at a different level, but Chuck's always been a guy. He was never afraid to step in front of a play.
Right.
I mean, we saw him play last year as a freshman, and he's taken on 200 and 310-pound guards, you know, on the running game, and he's never been shied away from any sort of contact or anything. He's always been a super aggressive player in the field, and that interception was proof positive of that.
And if you haven't purchased your ticket tonight, you're watching this pregame show live on youtube.com/VibrantAspectMedia. If you haven't purchased your ticket, click the link in the description and watch tonight's game as your Indians take on the Sarasota Sailors. 2 guys who are coming back full strength this week. This is clip number 3. Jamaris Wilder and Alvin Johnson, 2 guys the running game really needs to get going here.
No doubt.
We just play football.
One thing we didn't touch on, obviously going into the season, probably another strength of the team, your backfield. They're both back together. They're doing their thing, and I think they were starting to hit some strides there in the Seminole game, where they were trying to they're finding their groove. I think you were finding a groove with how to situationally substitute them there and here and there. So nice to have those 2 guys back working together and being healthy.
Yeah, you know, you know, Gator had some things going on early in the year, some nagging injuries, and Dooney. I think he is really. I think he's been a huge surprise for us. Just the way he's ran the ball. He's run the ball very tough. Gotten some tough yardage. You know, they both have been fearless when they ran. You know, especially IMG. You know, they both ran it up in there, and you know, that was tough. That was a tough deal. I mean, that's you know, when you had 5 offensive linemen and a tight end that never played a varsity football game, and you're playing IMG, and you know. That was a tough deal. Now we're a lot better right now than we were then, but those are the growing pains you got to go through.
And even the St. Francis game, you know, Alvin was going solo that night. I'm not mistaken.
Well, in St. Francis, I mean, Alvin was. We were getting close to busting a few, and I think I think if you look back at that, and you know, it can be like anybody else. If this, if that, you know. I told somebody today, we would have 15 state championships if everything went right. You know, I mean, like you sit in the room.
Everybody's healthy. Everybody's great.
You sit in the room after a football game, and if this, if that. Well, yeah. Well, if everything goes right, we have 15 state championships.
Right.
You know, but everything ain't going to go right, especially playing a good team. But I think if Gator was healthy that game, having those 2, you know, we might have been able to get the running game going a little bit better.
One other thing too about the running game, real quick. Looks like with Brooks kind of running the ball a little bit here and there too, seems to have elevated his game a little bit, and I think it's also elevated the running attack altogether. Yeah,
you know, we're going to try to hopefully, you know, I think we know what we have there. Obviously, just like any other year, we don't want to run our quarterback unless we need to. Just like we did with Ryan, just like we did with Bryce. You know, obviously there were games where Bryce had 42 carries.
Yeah.
You know, but there was also 5 games during the regular season where he had 2.
Right.
Or maybe 1, and that was just from a scramble. So we always want to try to prevent our quarterback from running the ball and taking hits, really.
The one thing the offense needs are those 2 guys to get going, and tonight we could see them both back healthy.
Yeah, you know, the running game, you know, we looked at it and saw those 2 running backs and young guys, obviously. And you say, wow, man, what a deadly combo that is, you know. and then there's an early injury, and then some other things going on. So I don't think they ever really got a rhythm to with the substitutions. I don't think they got a rhythm as far as players are concerned. So we talked about it, and the fact that they're both healthy and the fact that we're getting into the meat of our schedule, I would find it hard to believe that they're not going to take turns or even both have great games in the next few weeks, because I think they're both chomping at the bit to get out and get in there and start making some big contributions.
So thanks for watching the free part of tonight's pregame show. Flip on over to Boxcast, purchase your ticket $9.99 to help support the football program, and with a lot of damage to the stadium, we need it. So please purchase your ticket, and
it helps.
It absolutely helps. And we'll be back here in just a minute with the rest of tonight's pregame show and kickoff live from Sarasota High School. Josh Grant, John Massoni. We'll be right back.